What's up, guys? Kelly McKay here, aka HVAC Manager on YouTube. And today I've got Mr. Pete Ramsey. We're talking business. He's of HVAC greatness. Be sure to check out his channel, subscribe his channel on YouTube. Be sure to check out my channel on YouTube. But we're just a couple of guys that like to talk about the HVAC industry, where it's going, where it's been, how it's going, and our sole focus is just to help HVAC contractors. So how you doing tonight, Pete?
I'm doing good. Sorry, guys, I'm laughing. We have the better content before we hit the record button. You wouldn't believe some of the conversations. Kelly's a great guy, he cracks me up. But anyway, so yeah, this is what we do, guys. We're fishing for our third candidate because we want to keep these conversations fresh for you. But it doesn't matter where you are in the process. If you're still in the truck working for somebody else, or maybe you're on your own and you're looking for that first employee, or maybe you're established. We all need a little bit of help. And, I've been around a long time. Kelly's been around a long time. We've helped a lot of people and it's fun. So a lot of times we just talk about stuff that hopefully you can relate to as you're driving down the road, and, keep you engaged and keep you entertained and hopefully keep you between the ditches. So, yeah, I don't even know what we're going to talk about today. What are we going to talk about today, Kelly?
I don't know. We've got, we can take it anywhere you want to. Let's talk about one thing. Just when you were just talking there on the intro there, it was about a lot of times when we get deep into our business and it becomes, our main attention goes towards the business, growing the business, supporting the business, thinking about business, running the business, all these things. When things get tough, anytime during that journey, a lot of people want to retreat and go back into their, and be basically not reach out for help, or not ask around, or not, create a relationship with some other business owners that are like-minded, that struggle with the exact same things that you're struggling with. If there's one thing that I've learned is that, you are not alone. You are not a lone ranger. That's what I like to say, because everyone's struggling with the same things. It's crazy. It's crazy how alike you are when you own an HVAC business to another owner. And it doesn't matter how big your business is either. They still have the same struggles, finding good people, leaders in their company. Sometimes it might even be harder the bigger you get to implement new strategies and processes, and so it can be.
I was thinking too, just to support what you said.
Yeah.
Tiger Woods has a coach, right? Or back when he was at prime, he's got a coach there, and he's making sure that he's that he's doing his thing. So the best of the best have coaches. And it reminded me of, we had an event, we've had several events, but we had a business owner, and he's stepping in, and we're all talking. We're talking about HVAC business problems, right? And so I asked him, I said, well, how many trucks do you have on the road? And I thought he said 6. And I said, oh, good, you're getting up there. That's good, 6 trucks. He goes, no, 66. And so, here's a guy in, multi-million dollars worth of business. But he's there. And back when I was with Lennox, I used to teach sales training. And the biggest companies in the market would send their salespeople, and guess who was in the front row? Their best salespeople. And so if you are really about growing, obviously you're going to look to yourself, and you're going to trust yourself as you gain experience. But if you don't capture and take advantage of the experience of other people who have different strengths and different set of experiences, you're just hurting yourself. Especially if, like what Kelly said, you're suffering. There's no need today. There's help. I reached out. I did it back in the 90s, back when it was really expensive. And it helped.
No, there's simply no excuses. It's too easy to connect with people today. And so, and there's so many coaches like us out there that are trying to help the industry, to help you get through that. So, but when you said you were talking about coaches, well, I'm sure, like Michael Jordan, for instance, he didn't just have Tim Grover for a coach. I'm sure he had a stretching coach, a nutritional coach, a strength training coach, I guarantee he had all of those things. But there was some lady, and I wish I could remember her name, but she broke the record, and it was incredible. It's like incredible amount of miles that she swam. She held the record for open water swimming. And guess how many people were on her team to help her break that record? No guess? So 70 people.
70 people. Wow.
Yeah, that was the support system. You had the safety people, you had the people who rigged the boat to follow her. And I mean, it was it. So
Crazy.
the thing is, I've also heard about is it Thomas Edison, I believe. So Thomas Edison, he gets credit for making the light bulb. But truth be told, he had like 120 people working for him, trying to figure out this light bulb issue too, all focused with intention on the same challenge. So he just got to take credit for it. So behind every great business, there is a team of people, and there's a team of support for the owners that they've built over time. So you got to build your support team.
I think sometimes we just have to put it in proper perspective. Obviously, we don't need 70 coaches because we run a heating and air conditioning company, and we don't make the money that Tiger Woods or Michael Jordan does to pay coaches. But in terms of, I think in terms of what we do, the return on the investment can be immediate and it can be huge. I'm going to real quick story. So I was selling in my market. This is back in the early 90s, and I was Mr. Technical. I mean, I would do a load calculation. I would check the ductwork and static pressure, all the stuff that my competition would not do. And I did this, that, and the other, and I would still lose to the cheaper price. So there was a guy by the name of Steve Howard, but way back in the day, and he created, it was HVAC or something, sales boot camp. And I learned, now it was ACT, I think. They since up their program, and I've not seen the new version, but the old version was a game changer. So I took 2 days, I went over there, went through the program, we developed their materials, did a couple of role playing, went to my very first company, made the full investment back on one sale. Now, if you go from a closing ratio of 30% to just 35%, you've made your money back.
Yeah.
Or a service call process where you teach your team how to be very comfortable with locating additional needs, presenting them in a way that the customer goes, yes, I want that, versus you're trying to sell something to me. You've made your money back. These are the kind of things that, I mean, you got to look at it as a business investment in which it will yield a return. Right, Kelley?
100%. I wouldn't even offer what I'm doing if I did. I know it's minimum 10 times your investment back within the first year, minimum 10x. And so
let's put you on the spot. Do you have a coach right now?
I have. So I'm in a unique situation because my business partner is a coach.
Oh, okay.
And so when I need a coach, I literally, which I know we're not always great at, like self-assessing ourselves, but I'm pretty good at it. When I'm struggling, just literally 3 months ago, I was struggling with like just the whole transition, since I exited my business and clarity. I was like, what am I going to do? And so I reached out. I'm like, I need a coaching session.
No, and I did that too. It's different running an HVAC business that you sold and running a training and coaching business, which you now do. So it's a different skill set, right?
Well, I've been doing that, even back when I did own the business for like last year and a half or so. I'm definitely going, I can dedicate a lot more time towards it at this point. So,
Gotcha.
But, I just couldn't get clarity around exactly what I wanted, even though I know all the personal development. I know the, certified high performance coaching way to to help people get clarity. I get all that. And I've tried doing the worksheets myself, but sometimes you just need a coach to help you think through things. And she did, she helped me think through it. And ever since then, I have felt great about the direction I'm going. I made some decisions in my mind about what I want to do. And now, I'll, I haven't even shared this with you before we started recording, but I'm going to be speaking here probably at the end of January. And that was one of my goals. I want to go speak in a few places. And so I've got 2 speaking engagements for like a little mini conference for HVAC business owners. So that I was invited to just out of the blue. So super excited about that, and can't wait to help hopefully change some minds and feed them some knowledge. So,
well, one of the things that you do really well, and by the way, before I forget, I've got a question that I promised on a reply to my prior video that I would answer, so don't let me forget that. But what I love about you, and for those who know me and how I met Kelley, I reached out to him. He didn't reach out to me. In fact, he snubbed me. No, I'm just kidding. I reached out to him because I said, man, this guy, he hits close to home. He's real. I can tell he's done what I've done. He's probably got the same cuts, the same scars, or similar, and made some of the same mistakes. But, this is a whole lot different than these, than other people that teach other things in a theoretical situation. So when you've been through the mud and everything else, and what I really appreciated about you was the fact that you're always reading and taking these self-improvement courses, and you're looking at things from the perspectives of these other individuals from outside of the industry, which hits near and dear close to my heart because I'm very similar in that. Mm-hmm. And it's because of that your perspective is so valued. And this is why I'm saying this. I see people all the time that are so proud of what they've done. They've shifted from confidence over into arrogance, and they think they got things under control because of their past experience. And this is human nature, right? We tend to depend on, hey, I've been through this, I can handle this, until life throws them a curveball, and then what are they going to do? That's a different skill set, right? And so we need to feed our minds and consider other perspectives. And I think one of the biggest lessons that I learned as a young business owner when I started was how to get answers, because we didn't have Google, how to get answers to my own questions. Where are my resources? How do I get things, where do I find the answers? Everybody's coming to me, Pete, what do we do? I'm supposed to have all the answers. Where do I go? And so this is what you're proactively doing, and not waiting until something breaks, and then you're in the risk, you can't make your bills, and then trying to reach out to somebody you can't even afford their services.
Well, for anybody to feel like you've got every single thing figured out, that's just ego. That's because I'm telling you, there is so much to this business, and we're talking about people, unpredictable people are. And so it's something.
It's like, kind of like when you go on a date, everybody wants to be in their best, they want to wear your best, everything else. Those guys that are, that are so successful, I guarantee when they turn the cameras off, life is not as pretty as they paint it. Life doesn't work that way. So
no, and that's one thing. I hope that I've never come off as arrogant, because that's the last thing I ever wanted. Because I don't feel that way at all. I figured a lot out. Like I've shared in the past, lots of times, I figured a lot out, and I paid a lot of money to learn some of the key ingredients that really helped us be somewhat successful in our business in a very small, very tough market. There are no big major companies coming through and buying businesses in my market. They don't want business here. Trust me. It is not. And a lot of the people, who own businesses are in the same boat. Their market's probably not the greatest. And I think, and we talked about that a few weeks back. Anyhow, I guess my main thing to say here is just that No, I certainly will never ever claim to know it all, but I figured a lot out, and it's a lot. You can definitely become way more successful than you are right now. And I lean on success principles too. There's no question that there's patterns that people have followed to become successful in life. It doesn't matter what business you're in. And so I lean on those, and because those you can't get wrong. If you do them and you practice them, then you're going to see an increase in success.
Well, that, and I think we have to be grounded, because I've had people that have, especially new business startups and things like this, because I get a lot of guys that are technicians like I was, like you were, and
Yeah.
they're starting their own thing, and
I'm here.
they kind of feel like that they can give you a call, you get on, you can, work with them for a session or two, or provide them a course, and then it's like you took this magic pill and the heavens open up, success comes about, the cash you just go to the mailbox and pull the checks out of the mail, and it just doesn't work that way. So what we're doing is basically you're out there on the track by yourself, or you're maybe a wrestler and you're wrestling yourself, and we're saying, do the sweep, but it's on you. You got to do the sweep if you're going to take that opponent down, or whatever the example is, right? It's on you. It's on you. So
Yeah, I always tell people I can't do your push-ups for you. That's like a famous Jim Rohn quote, and I use it all the time. I can't do your push-ups for you. If you, I can give you the knowledge, I can give you the support. You can ask me questions, whatever, but if you're not willing to do the work, like, this isn't for you. And
that's
it's
the
not
one side. I'm sorry. That's the one side. The other one was, I think it was Kobe Bryant that said, boos don't block shots. And so all your naysayers out there, everything else, you put in that work, you put in that effort, right? Get the cuts, sweat the sweat, and stick to it, and you'll set them all straight.
Yeah, as far as me and Pete, gosh, I can't even remember. So you reached out to me maybe a while back. I'm like one of the only people who, I hate to say that, I'm not one of the only people, but I've been present, okay, I've been present on YouTube for a long time, and my channel is very niche. It's about HVAC business. And there's very few other channels on YouTube that only cover or primarily stick to the subject of HVAC business. So because of that, when people go on the search, when they start either searching for the silver bullet or just trying to get out of pain, and they begin this search, well, sometimes I'll come up depending on what they search. I have no idea how that happens. That's just the Google verse, but it happens. And so, but for whatever reason, however, I don't remember when the first time we connected, Pete, but I've always felt the same way about you. I feel like you're genuine. I feel like you're good people. You just want to help the industry, which is what I want to do. And you know what it's like, and you've been there and done it.
Yeah, and I'm like you in that I've heard you say this off air, that you just want to shoot straight and not blow a bunch of hype.
No, I've had like 2.5 hour conversations with people. And I've just, sometimes I'll just give them some knowledge because that's where they're at. So it's not always about a sale. It's not always about, it's just about helping people. And however, I don't want a bunch of phone calls being booked if you don't expect to join my program. So, so don't waste my time. Don't waste my time. No offense.
Oh, I've had that. They'll book a call and they won't show up, but they'll get mad.
That happens.
They go on a call and nobody's at home. So, but okay. So we shared a lot about us and, what we're here to help, everything. I think that's pretty clear. So, if I might take this opportunity to transition into the question before I forget it, Dylan Buchanan, you asked he says, hey guys, just found your channel. brand new to the HVAC industry, and that's okay, guys. All you guys have experience, but you were there once. Don't scoff at new people. I'm finishing up trade school and searching for my first job. What kind of things should I be looking for in a company? What kind of positions are there in a company, entry level or otherwise? Positions, not to put you on the spot, but Kelley, go.
Well, just out of trade school, you're probably just gonna have to take what you can get. You know, it might even be like a parts runner. I know companies that start people as a parts runner, and then they graduate to a helper in the field, and then they graduate to which you could say helper / apprenticeship. But right out of trade school, you might have a really good chance if you interview well, to start right in like in the maintenance department and be able to they ought to be able to with your base knowledge from school, they ought to be able to show you how they run their maintenance calls, and you ought to be able to go out and perform that with some additional training from the company. So that's probably what kind of position you're looking at. But I would not, you might pick a couple of companies. I always tell people this too, like consider who you would like to work for. Don't just go to anybody and everybody. Like consider who you'd like to work for, who presents themselves well in the market. So you can learn from somebody who's doing it right, for one thing. Not to off-put the people who are just starting and stuff, because those guys can do it right too. But just depends on what you want. There's going to be more money always in a bigger company, just because they've figured out more things. Not that you can't, possibly get hired. See, you're putting me on the spot, and then you get all this time to think about it.
Well, why do you think I did that? No, because you're inspiring me, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot like that. But no, you got me thinking. I was remembering about this kid from the church I attended back in the day, and he comes in and he said, "I've decided I want to do heating and air, and I want to work with you." And I didn't know how to explain to him what I didn't want him, but he didn't know anything. And then when they would come out of the trade school, you feel like you've learned a lot, but really, if you were turned free by yourself, you couldn't do much.
Yeah,
so it's kind of like you got your business going, you start, you're juggling everything, and then somebody wants you to pay them $35,000 a year to hand you wrenches and go to, and support. It doesn't add to revenues until you can break off on your own, unless you slide into a role that you can. That was a good example of running parts, maybe helping on an installation, and then ultimately becoming a lead installer. And Dylan asked a question on what types of positions. I think you and I are mostly talking residential. My son went straight into light commercial when he did it as a technician. Didn't know anything. He didn't even go to school. He was doing an online course that I actually bought for him. Mm-hmm. I don't even think he finished it, but he's a good little tech now. Just boom, boom, boom. But he had somebody that invested in him, and he was telling me, "Dad, I need to make more money." I said, "Son, you know how much money they invested in you? You don't want, because he's talking about leaving. You're not leaving, And I talked some sense into him, and I gave him that other perspective. And he says, "Dad, they're really good to me over here, And so sometimes that's what it takes. But we think, because we see everything from our perspective, that we know more than we do, and we just don't. But supporting what you're saying, I love what you said about looking at different companies, looking at different cultures, because if you've got this ragtag outfit over here, and they're just they're smoking weed in between jobs or something, versus some professionals that take life seriously.
This, you can call. I guarantee you, there's any city. Go to any city. This is happening, everywhere. So yeah, I would be picky on who I'm going to work for.
Sure. And
I want to win. I want to win.
Yeah, no. And here's something that you have to keep in mind. you call a company, you fill out an application, they call you in for an interview, and you go in for an interview. The one thing that you have to remember is they want you to be what they're looking for so bad. And so, but you'll go into the interview with a different perspective, and a lot of times you're just about yourself, or, you know, how much money can I make? What can I expect here, that, you know. But when you interview, if your goal is, I'm looking for an organization that I can grow with, that I can make them successful so that I can be successful, so that I can generate them the revenue so they can afford to pay me what, you know, I'm looking for somebody that I can grow with. And so this, the person that's doing the interview is thinking, oh my gosh, my dreams just came true. Here's somebody that's not just gonna, you know, be on his cell phone, but he literally wants to work. We did some mastermind groups, Kelly, and I had this one guy, he's funny. He sends a picture of the textbook where his new hire is reading the textbook of HVAC on his break. He said, oh my God, he said, my prayers have been answered. I finally found somebody that wants to work. You know,
oh yeah, it blows your mind when you get somebody who's actually has some ambition and is driven, and it's refreshing. It's refreshing. And here's the thing too, is if you got some B players and C players on your team, they're not going to like that, you know, typically. But
booze don't block shots. So,
you know, also when you go into the interview, make sure that it's professionally done. You know, the way you're treated, the questions you're asked, the banter that's going on between, you know, if there's, you know, I always recommend at least 2 people in an interview, because if it's an in-person interview, you can weed out a lot of people just by doing a phone interview first and asking a very short set of questions. But always 2 people, because they might see something that you didn't see, or pick up something, or hear something that you didn't hear. And the goal of the business owner is always to make sure to not pick any bad apples for his business or her business. And so it's, of course, you know, dress up just a little bit. You don't got to put on a jacket or anything like a suit or a tie, but at least comb your hair. If you get far enough to get an in-person interview, like show up decent looking. It's crazy, Pete. I've interviewed probably 130 people, and you wouldn't believe the way some people show up, and
I've interviewed my fair share.
Blows your mind.
So, yeah. And you're like, are you serious? Are you trying not to get the job? You know,
exactly.
That's hilarious. But you know, a lot of times there's different calibers of people, and somehow, you know, we've seen the caliber raise over the years. There's some very professional blue collar people out there, but way back in the day, you know, it just was not as common, and so we've seen that evolve. I had another thought, and I was following that. Oh, what you were saying about different businesses. So when I sold my business, I was hired by Lennox, and they moved me out to the eastern part of North Carolina, and I had the whole coastline. So from Wilmington all the way up to, you know, the Outer Banks, all the way up through there, almost into Raleigh. And I called on business after business after business, and it wasn't very long after that that they relocated me to Florida, because I speak Spanish, and so I worked with a lot of the Spanish-speaking business owners. But I also did the Treasure Coast, and I went over on the West Coast, on the Gulf Coast there, you know, Naples, Fort Myers, up there briefly. The point is, I went into business after business after business after business after business, and what a perspective this gave me. Kelly, you would think that, you know what your business ran like, you know what it's like being in your office and watching your team work and everything else. But when you go into these other companies, there are no 2 alike. I've seen it go into these offices and it's just as pleasant and it's stress-free. And I've seen these other ones and they're like freaking out all the time. They're always on, you know, walking on eggshells. And I remember one in particular. Lennox had just hired me. I'm not going to say the company name because they're probably still in business. It was 3rd generation. The guy was an absolute jerk. And I knew, because we come in the back parking lot and there was all these beat up cars, beat up vans, and it was like $120,000 sports car. That was the owners.
Yeah.
And so, that's telling me how are they treating their employees, how they're treating themselves, and we go in there and the store manager was taking me in, and he's passed away now, but he was going to present me to the owner. And we go in the office and she says, I don't know. He's got somebody in the office right now. And I'm thinking, why is she whispering? And everybody was like living in fear of this little tyrant.
Yeah.
And we go in there and he yells at the store managers and, I forget what he says, he's busy and whatever, and everything else. And I'm just standing there thinking, I'm going to come across the desk, buddy, and I'm going to beat your little face in, is what I'm thinking, that's the redneck coming out of Pete. But we leave and he said, well, you're going to have to be patient with him. I said, no, I'm not. He's fired. He'll never sell another Lennox product. And I shut him down. And I don't know if he still does, but life's too short to deal with stuff that. Imagine going to work for a company like that. So check the reviews.
You might be able to pick up on that in an interview, something just you'll have to, just like they may get a feeling about you, like you might get a feeling about them. And it better be a positive one and feel like you're going to be supported and it's going to be a growth oriented place and you're not going to be treated just like a number. I know there's lots of businesses that still operate that way, where you're just a number. You come to work, get your shit and go to the job. But, that's not the way I ran my company. It's not the way I don't think a healthy company runs. That's just my opinion, but I don't know what it's like. I've only worked for a few companies too. So I haven't worked for a lot of, bigger companies, but
that was a big change for me, Kelly, was that transition and being privileged to go in and work with these different people. And as a territory manager, which is what I was doing, I sold a lot of equipment, quite honestly, because I'd call on people like you and they find out my background, all the training I've been through, and they're like, Pete, come here. I put this thing together. What do you think? And I go, I don't know, let's look at it together. And before you knew it, I was doing more consultative sales than actual sales. And so I
think that's the territory manager's job. Personally,
it should be, but most people don't have that type of experience. Most
I know, but I think they should hire people who do have that experience because
I agree. That's a valid point. Yeah.
If the territory manager knows how to help a business grow, then what is that going to mean to the distributor? I mean, they're going to make a lot more money because they're going to sell a lot more equipment. And so, but however, I've talked to lots of territory managers through the years. And one of them, he would always tell me, he's like, man, I tell these guys this, because we'd get to talking and he'd be like, I tell these guys this, they just don't listen to me. And so there's a lot of that going on.
There's a lot of that going on. There's also
information, you're just not listening. You're not paying attention to the feedback that you're getting.
Yeah.
There's a very smart trainer shared this with me. He said, everything is feedback. Everything. What it's like when you walk into the office in the morning, how your day goes. Do you have all your material that you need? Is everything organized? What are the customers experiencing? What are your coworkers experiencing? What is the bank account experiencing? What are your relationships experiencing? What's happening with your health? Every single thing in your life is giving you feedback. You can choose to ignore it and keep things the way it is going, or you can choose to try to improve it. And it all comes down to changing the way that you respond to all of these events that are always happening. And for whatever reason, I'm guilty, just like a lot of people are, we just tend to ignore it. Because for me, for instance, when it was time to grow the business, I hated coming in the office because I felt out of place. I was uncomfortable there. I didn't know what I was supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
When I knew I wanted to get out of the truck, but what was I supposed to do when I got out of the truck? And so there was this transition time where, every single time I just jumped back in the truck because that's what was comfortable. So I know we're veering way away from where you should work. Hopefully we covered that good enough at this point, but
Well, that's a good transition. So we're talking about wholesalers and territory managers, and you triggered a memory I want to share with me, but because I want to share this with you guys, especially if you're young and you've got a territory manager and you've got a really good relationship and everything else. Most of the territory managers that I work with, my peers, they were really good people. Okay. But there were, as you go up the corporate chain, it gets a little bit more cutthroat. It gets to be more about numbers and productivity and efficiency and, you know, business, right? And so it's not that they're bad, although there were some of them that were as you go way up. It's just that a lot of times your territory manager is very limited as what they can do. And sometimes it's very surprising. And it was revealing to me how I was paying one thing and the guy across town was paying something different. It's not like going to the grocery store where everybody's paying the same thing, or someone in this other market, they're at this GP, but you get out of this market, they're down here, right? But here's the one thing I want to share. So
they're also overloaded. They have too many people that are, you know,
that's true.
There's too many companies that are under them, and so they can't. It keeps them from. In a lot of businesses, I don't know if they're all this way, but some of them are overloaded with contractors, and they just don't have the individual time to spend with everybody.
Yeah, and that's true. More work, less money, the same game. You know, that's corporate America and what it's become. When I went to work for Lennox, they had just gone public, but it was a wonderful company to work for. But anyway, so I had a partner briefly, and it did not work out. We were just too different, but we were a carrier, and we had added the train line, and my territory manager had actually had a degree in psychology, and he went to work in that field, didn't like it, and he left and ended up in heating and air conditioning because of his brother somehow. So he became a territory manager, and he invites me to play golf. You know, that's one of the perks. You know, he's going to take a customer out to play golf. So we're out there playing, and at one point he says, "Pete," he says, "I want to talk to you." He says, "One of the things that you need to understand," and he was talking about my partner, he said, "People aren't as nice as you are. And what you're doing is you are innocently viewing people and giving them the same, you're seeing them as if they share the same values as you, and you are going to get taken advantage of." He was telling me I was gullible, basically. And I think that's what we do when you're dealing with your territory managers. They're very friendly and everything else, but just guys, please remember, this is business, and you can hold that friendship and still make it about business, and you hold them accountable, because you don't want to be that company that's big, you know, paying more than the other guy across town, and they love you because you're making them all of this GP, your gross profit, and you think you just assume everybody's paying. Don't assume. Learn the game. Talk to people who've been around. Don't assume everybody's mean and bad either, but just, you know, learn to navigate those waters and question everything, and hold your territory manager or all your suppliers accountable to a certain level, just like you would hold employees accountable to a certain level. Just my 2 cents, because I was pretty vulnerable. I mean, I'm sorry, gullible. And
I was all those
too much.
I was all those things. I absolutely got taken advantage of. And I probably took advantage, not purposefully or intentionally, but I just didn't know what I was doing. You know, so it took years of just continuing to learn, continuing to read, continuing to listen to audiobooks. But I'll share this with you real quick, because this is so powerful. I was doing just a little bit of research, and I don't think I shared this, but tell me if I shared this on our last one. I don't think I, but when it comes to feedback, that's what I was talking about. There was a Gallup poll taken, and it said that managers who offer frequent and continuous feedback influence their employees to be 3.2 times more likely to strongly agree that they are motivated to do outstanding work. So if the manager gave the employee a regular stream of feedback, they were 3.2 times more likely to agree that they are motivated to do, to work hard, to do outstanding work. And then they're 2.7 times more likely to be engaged at work. So if you want to double your engagement, almost triple it, start doing more feedback with your people. And and one of the things you just said, it sounds like you got some really valuable feedback. So how did you take it? When he told you, when he told you these things, he's like, you're being gullible, you're going to get taken advantage of. How did you take it? Was your first initial reaction like emotional?
No,
Or
no.
Good.
No, because we had cleared the trust hurdle and we were friends. We've been talking a while, and he just got to the point where he just liked me and he says, Pete, I got to help you out because you're setting yourself up. And so it was well received. It was like an older brother that stepped in. He's retired since recently, and shout out to Timmy if you're out there. But what you were just saying about this giving feedback to employees. So guys, the Southern boy version of this is when you're building a culture, building a team, you're building an atmosphere, you're building a company personality, you're giving your team a place that they can either be a part of or they can be there but not feel like they belong, right? And so that communication is a leadership quality, which Kelley clearly has and has developed, and he's studied the numbers and the data. But if you're going to, and I learned that when we rolled out our maintenance agreement program way back in the day, I got everybody in there, and I purposely didn't have it ready for them, kind of did, but I go around the room and I'd say, Kelley, I need one step from you on a step that we're going to make the best maintenance agreement program in the entire county, and we're going to do this all together, and because it's going to be the best and everything else. And so I said, Kelley, give me something. Clean the condenser valves. And I go to, Pete, what'd you do? John, what'd you do? Just go through and around and around and around and around. So we start running out of ideas. And I'm like, guys, we've got the best program. And you helped build this. Thank you. You talk about getting involved, have skin in the game and getting committed to something. These guys are out there selling maintenance programs saying, we got the best maintenance agreement program in town. I know I helped develop it. And it was just, that type of thing.
It creates ownership. Mm-hmm.
As I read this in a book.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh, there's something to this stuff, So yeah.
Yeah, it's
point.
That's that I did possibly like a controversial video a while back, but I'm talking about, HVAC business owners, and it goes with any industry, honestly, that if you want to sit around, complain, moan, gripe, blame, excuse make, justify, if you want to do all of those things, but yet, you complain that you're not getting the results that you actually want. But if you're not going to actually take action and do something or listen to some feedback that you currently already have, what happens is, a guy gets home from work one night and the house is empty. The wife's gone. And he's like, all of a sudden she's gone. No, there were yellow alerts, what I call them, yellow alerts. This has been happening for a while. You've been ignoring the feedback. So if your business isn't doing what it needs to be doing, and you just jump in a truck and go do the next call because that's what makes you comfortable, you have to stop and look at what's going on.
Yeah. And that bitching and whining
and make some decisions. Yeah, sorry.
And that bitching and whining needs to be properly directed. So one of the challenges that I've had to learn how to deal with as a business coach was this. Okay, so you've got these problems in your business. And this is happening, that's happening. It's frustrating. So just shake it off, go home, go jump in the shower, get cleaned up, walk out, look into the mirror, and you let that person have it that's looking back at you, because they're the ones that are responsible for all of it. The good.
You either created it.
I'm saying that we need to take responsibility.
Yep.
The biggest adjustment, the biggest leap forward that I've seen with the people that I've worked with, and I bet you have too, Kelley, isn't in telling them what to do, because I learned that I would tell them what to do and tell them what to do, and we'd have another meeting, we'd tell them what to do, but it was getting them to implement it and actually execute on a consistent basis. And what this required was new behaviors, and what that required was a new mindset. What that required was a new belief systems, and what that required was what they call a paradigm shift. And so the way you come into the business world thinking that, it's going to be this and it's going to be that, you get that reality check,
Yeah.
and you got to adjust. And this is what, getting some help can help you through. But go look in the mirror.
I've got a lot of
successful, go look in the mirror. When you fail, go look in the mirror. I'm sorry, go ahead, Kelley.
I've got a lot of analogies for helping people get past this mindset thing, because it's very basic, very simple. I'm not going to go through those right now, but
we'll say that.
But I've got a bunch of them because I understand, and this is the way I explain it is how it made sense to me in my mind.
Okay.
And I always tell people too, you're going to hear me say this, several times throughout not every time we meet, but like the customer pays for everything. If you want to get paid more money, it's not just about charging more money, it's about providing a better service. So how can you increase the perceived value of your service? Or how can you actually increase the service, period? Maybe it's not perceived. Maybe you do 2 or 3 extra things that you didn't used to do to add more value, because when you add more value, you can charge more. It's basic. It's a basic exchange, so if you don't feel good about raising your prices, well, then do something about it. What would make you feel good about it? What could you do to add that much more value that would make you feel better about raising your prices? So
and that's the elusive obvious. No. That, dude, perfectly said. I love that. That's the elusive obvious. We, especially if we come begin as technicians, we perceive what we're doing through our filters, through our personal experience and insights. And you know what the ironic thing is? Our perspective is incomplete. What you think it's worth, you are underinformed about what its true value is, because you haven't considered the obvious. I think I may be bouncing back to last week, or I had this conversation not too long ago. It's just like getting in my car and driving all the way out to visit Kelley, whatever distance we are, 1,500 miles away, whatever. That mechanic might not, clean my coils, or you know what I'm saying, or improve the efficiency of my vehicle. But if he's gone through and all my tire pressure is right, the tread is right, he's gone through all of my liquids, my fluids, and my belts, and my hoses, and he's gone through everything, and I know that it's safe, it was worth it to me to pay him, because I don't want to be on the side of the road. Likewise, it's more than just that, well, it looks fine to me. Doesn't matter what you think. What does that customer need to feel in order to be happy with the service? What are they looking for? And it's beyond return on investment money. It's beyond, well, did I make it better through maintenance, like cleaning the coils, or making the, adjusting the refrigerant charge a little bit better, whatever. Sometimes it's about, peace of mind, safety, or a host of other things that we don't have time to get into. But to your point, Kelley, if you're having problems with that, how come I can't charge more? It's because you're underinformed. It's not that you're inferior, because we all started there. No. We just have to add to that information to enlarge our perspective.
It's just a mindset thing. You got to get it right, or you're going to struggle, period. It's just the way it is. And it's unfortunate that so many people will stay, and I was no different. That's why I'm so passionate about this, because it creates so much pain in your life. For one, when you're good, fast, and cheap, you got all the business in the freaking world. Like, everybody and their brother wants you to come work on their stuff. So you got so many customers, you don't know what to do with yourself. But that's the problem, is you're never home anymore. Then your health begins to slip and suffer. And then your mindset suffers. And then you just work. The harder you work, you're not making any extra money. It might even cost you more money, because And so that's the thing is people always think, well, I need more customers. Like what I was saying earlier. No, you don't need more customers, because if you go out and get more customers, it might bankrupt you doing what you're currently doing. That's not a joke. You will work yourself into bankruptcy.
That is the laughter of recognition. I'm not laughing. I get that. I've seen that way too many times.
If you're not making money now, if you think more customers are going to change that, you're probably wrong.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. It's all like it's this balancing act. The whole business building thing is a balancing act. It's like, okay, well, let's get more customers. We normally start out in a truck as a technician. We go out, we get some customers, and we get a little busy. And then if you're good and you take care of people and you're friendly and you always answer your phone and you never say no, like Kelley did, then you're going to get more and more customers. And eventually you'll get so many that you can't hardly keep up anymore and you're running yourself ragged. Well, then that ship, now it's time. Well, we probably need another van. So that was my first step. Like if I'm going to ever have somebody else out here helping me, I got to go buy another van. So I do that. I take that step up, buy the van. It's a year later before I can put somebody in that van. And so I'm still out here working my tail off. And then finally I get one of my buddies to come join me from the company that I used to work for. He joins me, and his son actually had been working with me. So I did have me and his son. And then finally I got that other van filled. But it's just this incremental steps up and up and up. And it's a balancing act. You can't, upgrade. You can't, if you had a flood of customers come in tomorrow and you're not prepared for it, it's not going to do you any good. Because you don't have the people, you don't have the structure, you don't have the vehicle, you don't have all the stock, you don't have all the stuff. So it's all about always preparing and planning for what's ahead, for one thing. But there's always this balancing structure. I don't know how else to describe it. I know I could probably go into that.
I had a piece to add to that. You inspired it by, what was it you said? Your buddy said everything is feedback.
Yeah, everything is feedback.
So I remember the expression that really hit home for me was, life continues to teach us the same lessons over and over and over until we learn that lesson, and it inspires a change. So when you're in business, you're not going to have the right perspective. You're not going to know a lot of things, and you're going to have these problems. And so once you get the epiphany, you get to understand, you have to change certain things about the way you do business, and those problems go away. And so to your point, when you have all these, you're more customers, you're just going to make things worse because you really didn't address the adjustments required in order to take those on. And you, because of when you started your business, were very fortunate to hire that person on that you could send right out and actually relieve you. Me, and from what I'm hearing from the people that I work with, a lot of these first hires for business owners, they're running the same thing with, as soon as you hire, I'm so busy, I just want to hire somebody to take some of this workload off of me. You hire this person and you just got busier because now you got to take care of him and his problems, plus you and your problems, because he can't work or she can't work independently. They don't have enough experience or whatever. And if they do have the experience, oh my gosh, what kind of baggage are they bringing? And so this is why you got to sort this out ahead of time. Yeah.
The baggage is insane. I only had like one or two people in 14 years that had experience that didn't have a ton of baggage that they brought with them, chips on their shoulders, things that they refused to do.
Yeah.
Just ridiculous. And I don't know. I always say what you were saying there, when the pain of change becomes less than the pain of staying the same.
Yeah.
That's or when the pain of staying the same becomes less than the pain of change. More I'm tired.
I got you. We got you.
When the pain of staying the same becomes less than the pain
when it's more painful to stay the same.
Yes, more painful to stay the same, then that's when you'll change.
Yeah,
So I've
something
said
like
it
that.
a million times, but once again, just like last week or the 2 weeks ago when we recorded, I've been online all freaking day today.
No, no, you're good. We got the points. But here's the thing. If we can, once we go through that once in this area of life or business, and then we do it in this other area of life and business, and you start to realize, well, why wait until it gets too painful? Why not just maybe move a little quicker? So as you start, I used to tell, I tell my guys this all the time. Listen, create a technician handbook. You start to put step by step, all the things that you just know how to do, you put a process in there. This is how we attend a service call. Technically, this is how we attend a service call, people wise, the people experience, the customer experience, and so we put these together, and plus all this other stuff. I had my vendors in there, where all our accounts were, what they sold, everything, phone numbers, whatever. You start to build this book, and you have a master copy. So when you hire this new person, sample invoice already filled out, you have all this stuff, and you use that for training, you go through and everything else. And guess what? Instead of calling you all the time, hey boss, hey boss, hey boss, they start to go to the reference book that you provided. And not only do they not bother you, but they follow a sequence that you have pre-established that you want done for your customers, and your customer experience has continuity.
Well, your experience increases instead of continually to decrease every time you hire a new person, because
Yes, that's true.
which is, that's the thing too, is you have to put your oxygen mask on first. I know that's like cliche to true. It's true. You
Oh,
gotta take care of yourself, or the business will not be worth it.
yeah.
That goes for anybody in business. Anyone who's been at this game for long enough will tell you the same thing. If you're not taking care of yourself, and it doesn't have to be like money, but you can't be working yourself to death. Also, carrying the stress and the worry and fear and anxiety, carrying all of that for a prolonged period of time, like it will kill you.
Yeah.
Literally kill you. And
Yep.
it's not worth dying over. And
It's
none of your
definitely
customers were dying over. So
yeah, we tend to forget what the reason we made the sacrifice to begin with. Why are we doing this? And conceptualize that in a photo, and put a picture of your family, whatever you got to do, right there on the visor, and every day you just remember why you're doing this. And it's pretty motivating. It'll keep you on track. So Kelley, I think our time is winding down. Did you have anything else? I want to encourage anybody, whether you're watching on Kelley's platform or mine, if you have questions or you want something discussed, please make a little comment. If you stuck this along with us, make a little comment down at the bottom, please, and we'll make an effort to address those and try to stay on topic, because we like to talk about us way too much sometimes, and we really want it something that you can enjoy too.
I think what you just said about knowing your why and keeping that, keeping it top of mind, but also just visualizing, you got to once in a while just close your eyes, visualize what it is you want. If you want calm, peace, the feeling of the fear or anxiety or dread or whatever you're dealing with, if it's constant or keep showing up over and over again, like visualize how you want to feel. How do you want to feel? How do you want to experience this HVAC business? Because it's truly a decision. You can make a decision to experience in a completely different way. And it's not always easy. And we always have these simple, if something really bad happens, like Joe fell through the ceiling over at Mrs. Charles' house, you might have that first instinctual, that feel like, for me, it's always in my gut. Like feels like I got kicked. Like you can't, that's automatic. You can't stop that, but you don't need to stay in that place. Like you can come out really quickly once you train your mind and how to deal with all of this stuff. But
so I cannot not add to that, because I won't get another opportunity. My grandpa, I moved him in with me when he was 86. I took care of him with him until he passed at 94. and I have my business, and I take him to breakfast, and he'd have these sayings. We're sitting there at the table. He puts his fork down. He says, "You see all these people in here? Every one of them has problems. All of them have problems." He said, "But you wouldn't trade your problems for their problems for nothing in the world." And I thought that's a weird thing to say, but as I thought about it, I thought how true that is. And there was a book. We love to say these books. It was called Living with Death in Mind. And this person took you into the lives of these people who were terminal. They were dealing with cancer. They had all this pain. They had all of these problems, this, that, and the other. And then you step back into your world, and all of a sudden you go from frustration to appreciation. So get gratitude when you can, reground, and leverage that to keep your attitude positive as you move forward. So thank you for that, Kelley.
What you fail to appreciate depreciates. So
I haven't heard that one. That's a good one.
yeah,
Love that.
you have to show appreciation, but visualize what you want, see it clearly in your mind. You don't have to be great at that. Some people are great at visualization. They have better imaginations than other people, but it doesn't have to be perfect, you know. Build the picture like a movie studio, build what it looks like, and start replaying that in your mind. And I don't know, we could go on and on about goal setting, affirmation.
Yeah, well, we had our third person. We got to have somebody that's going to shut us up because we just go down these rabbit holes. But I look forward to that. So, well, good. So maybe this is a good stopping point. Do you have anything else you wanted to throw in? Okay.
No, just hope you got something out of this, out of our rambling, because we covered many subjects over a relatively short period of time. But I definitely would like anyone who has any questions to definitely put them in the chat, you know, put them in the comment section. We'll definitely ensure that we pay attention.
If you're out there struggling, Kelley's a business coach. He's done the HVAC, he's done everything. He's built a company from scratch. Call him, reach out. He's got programs. I also have, I started from scratch. You know, I'm more on that customer experience and how to get customers, keep customers, and improve the customers you have. So, you know, hopefully you can benefit from both. Okay. So if you need a little bit of help, reach out. That's what we're here for. But in the meantime, we're going to keep doing this kind of stuff, and hopefully, you know, just keep you encouraged and keep you positive. Cool. All right, guys. So we will see you. We'll see you on the next one. You guys take care.
Go make money.
Go make money.